The elevator doors opened on the 41st floor and Nyla Rhodes almost turned back around. She had $11 in her Cashapp, a cracked phone screen, and a blazer she borrowed from her roommate that was one size too big. She had on high-waisted beige trousers, a white-ribbed tank tucked in, and brown loafers that were starting to separate at the sole. Her locks were pulled into a high puff, 2 thin gold chains at her neck, and a small nose ring that her mom always said looked unprofessional. She looked calm. She was not calm. The office smelled like cedar and cold money. Floor-to-ceiling windows turned the whole city into a screensaver. No cubicles. No noise. Just space, like only people who never worried about rent could afford. She was supposed to be interviewing for a brand assistant position. Entry level. She had a degree she was still paying for and a portfolio she had built at 2 a.m. between double shifts. Instead, she was standing in front of a man who clearly did not do entry-level anything. Rhys Calloway sat behind a wide black desk with no clutter on it at all. He wore a slate blue fitted crewneck, dark slacks, and white low-top sneakers that probably cost more than her laptop. His hair was natural, close-cut on the sides, slightly longer on top, like he had just woken up looking like that. A single silver chain. No watch. He did not need to perform wealth. He slid a black folder across the desk without standing up. "This is not the job listing you applied for," he said. Nyla did not sit. "Not yet." "Then what is it?" "An arrangement." His voice was flat. "Not mean. Just certain. 6 months. You present as my partner at 3 public events and 2 private ones. You are on call for any appearance I need covered. In exchange, your brother's legal fees disappear. All of them. And you get a weekly deposit that will actually change your situation." The air in the room felt like it stopped moving. "You looked me up," she said. "I do my research." "That is insane." She laughed, but it was not funny. "You do not even know me." He looked up from the folder for the first time. His eyes were dark brown and tired in a way that felt old, like he had been carrying something heavy for a very long time. "I know you work 2 jobs and you still cannot keep your brother out of trouble. I know you are smart enough to be overqualified for what you applied for and still showed up anyway." He leaned back. "That tells me everything." Nyla stared at him. The folder was still open between them. Her brother had a court date in 3 weeks. She signed it. She told herself it was temporary. A transaction. She was not selling anything real, just her time and her presence in rooms that already made her uncomfortable. She could do that. Rhys had his assistant show her the apartment. Same building, 4 floors below his. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a kitchen she was afraid to touch, and a closet that had already been stocked with outfits that somehow knew her exact size. She stood in the middle of the living room in her borrowed blazer and cracked screen energy and said out loud to no one, "This is not my life." Their first event was a gallery opening in the Arts District. Nyla wore a long-sleeve dark green slip dress, strappy black heels, and her locks pinned up on one side with a single gold clip. Simple. Clean. She felt like herself, barely. Rhys had on a black turtleneck, tailored charcoal trousers, and clean white sneakers again. He always wore sneakers. She noticed that. He met her in the lobby and looked at her for exactly 2 seconds. "You look appropriate," he said. "Wow. Thank you so much," she said back, completely dry. Something shifted in his face. Not a smile. Almost a smile. The night was exhausting. She shook hands with people who looked through her. She laughed at things that were not funny. She stood close enough to Rhys that the cameras could buy it, but not so close that she forgot this was a job. At one point, someone asked how they met. Nyla opened her mouth. "She called me out in a meeting," Rhys said, smoothly, not missing a beat. First person who had in years. The person laughed. Nyla looked at him sideways. On the ride back, she said, "You lied really fast." "I improvised." "Is there a difference?" He looked out the window. A long pause. Sometimes lying is the only honest thing left. She did not know what to do with that. Neither did he. 6 weeks in, she stopped treating it like a job. That was her first mistake. It happened slowly, the way things always do. A late night when the office was empty and Rhys was still working, and she brought him food without thinking about it. The way he looked up from his screen like he was surprised anyone remembered he was human. A conversation that started at 10 p.m. and ended at 1 a.m. about nothing important and everything real. The fact that he never talked down to her. The fact that she never softened herself around him. She wore an oversized vintage band tee, baggy gray sweatpants, and fuzzy slippers that night. He had on a worn white shirt and joggers. No performance. Just people. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "The arrangement. The whole thing. You could literally hire anyone." He was quiet for a while. "My father is dying," he said. "He wants to see me settled before he goes. He does not need reality. He just needs to believe it." Nyla set down her water bottle. "Rhys. Do not." His jaw tensed. "I do not need that look." "What look?" "The one where you feel sorry for me." "I do not feel sorry for you," she said. "I feel sorry for the version of you that thinks tricking a dying man is easier than just talking to him." The room went completely still. He looked at her like no one had ever said something that accurate to his face before. Then his phone rang. He answered it. She left. But she thought about him the whole way down to her floor. She should not have been thinking about him at all. It was his best friend who told her. Marcus. Tall, easy smile, always at the events, always just a little too interested in what Nyla thought about things. She had figured he was harmless. They were at a rooftop dinner, string lights, warm evening air, the city spread out gold and alive below them. Nyla had on a rust-colored cord set, a cropped blazer with wide-leg trousers, strappy heels, and her locks loose around her shoulders for the first time. Rhys had on a deep navy suit with no tie, the first two buttons of his white shirt undone, silver chain catching the light. He looked at her when she walked in. She noticed. Marcus pulled her aside near the bar. "You should know something," he said, casual, like it was nothing. "His father is not dying." Nyla went cold. "What?" "The man is healthy. Retired. Living in Portugal." Rhys told you that story because it is the version that gets the least questions. The real reason he needed someone is because he is in the middle of a hostile acquisition and the board thinks he is too volatile to lead. A stable relationship cleans up the narrative. He shrugged. It is always business with him. She looked across the rooftop. Rhys was laughing at something, relaxed in a way she had only seen a few times, and for a second she hated how much she had read into that. She walked to him. Waited for the other conversation to end. Then said quietly, "Your dad is in Portugal." His face did not move, but something behind his eyes did. "Nyla. Do not." She used his own word back at him. "Just tell me which part was real." He did not answer fast enough. She walked out. She was packed by midnight. The borrowed closet, the stocked kitchen, the floor-to-ceiling windows, she was done with all of it. Her real stuff fit in one duffel bag. That felt like information. He knocked at 1 a.m. She opened the door because she was raised to be too curious for her own good. Rhys stood in the hallway in a gray hoodie and joggers, no chain, no shoes even, just socks on the hallway floor like he had walked down without thinking. He looked like a person. Not a CEO. Not a strategy. Just a tired person who had made too many calculated moves and miscalculated the one that mattered. I lied about my father, he said. Everything else was real. That is a big thing to lie about. I know. You let me think you were grieving. I was actually worried about you. I know. His voice broke on it, just slightly. I have not had someone worry about me in a long time, and I did not know how to just let it be what it was. Nyla looked at him for a long time. What did you think it was? She asked. I thought it was temporary, he said. Then it stopped feeling that way and I did not know how to backtrack without losing it. She exhaled. Long and slow. My brother's fees, she said. You already paid them. That is not conditional on anything. It never was. So what are you asking me for? Nothing that is written in a contract, he said. She stepped back from the door. Not to close it. To let him in. They did not fix everything that night. Real things do not fix in a night. But she sat on the kitchen counter and he stood across from her and they talked until the city outside went from dark to gray to gold. No performance. No arrangement. Just two people who had both been surviving so long they had forgotten what it felt like to just exist near someone safe. She wore his hoodie home in the morning. It smelled like cedar. She kept it. The end.